All right, peace to the family, peace to the family. Whew, it is so hard being me sometimes. Man, all right, let's get busy. Let's get busy. All right, so what we're going to talk about today, right? The melanin mineral. This has probably been one of the biggest mysteries in the community, or various communities. This melanin mystery has been a big thing for quite some time, especially in circles where melanin is a popular discussion, right? So what do I mean? What's the melanin mystery? The melanin mystery is people not knowing how melanin is formed. So we went through the Lucid Dream series, right? 5 videos. What was the last video? I'll be putting up so much videos. You know, when y'all see the video, sometimes that's not when I made the video. You know, sometimes it's so much content I can't put it all up. So, you know, a lot of times I might have 10 videos or something like that and then go backwards in hindsight to put the videos up. Right? So, melanin is killing us more than white people, right? I felt like we needed to have that conversation because A is at the forefront of everything we're dealing with. So if you look at the opioid crisis, it's misunderstanding of the body's pigment systems. And when I say melanin, I'm really talking more about pigment because it's a much broader conversation than just quote unquote melanin. But melanin is what is the key product of the entire pigment system. So that is the prize of the entire pigment system, make no mistake. But you have a pigment system, and so not understanding that pigment system leads us to not understand sleep, leads us to not understand the opioid crisis, leads us to not understand our metabolic system, right? Because metabolic system is about, okay, Kylie and Aubrey is fighting about who has the big cup. That's why I usually give them LOL cups, but Chase is getting them some water. So anyway, daddy dilemma, right? So, focus. So, just giving you guys some idea and some insight into how we got here with the melanin mineral. All right, make a long story short. Like I said, just to give you some insight on why we're having this video is going to be a very, very important video in your melanin studies, right? And in your biochemical studies, biochemistry, your anatomy, physiology, holistic health, you know, trainers, nutritionists. This is one you want to have in your catalog. Now, we know that when we're dealing with external pigment, we're dealing with eumelanin at the the most dense end of the spectrum, right? Then towards the middle of the spectrum, you're dealing with pheomelanin, all the way down to the absence of external pigment altogether. Right? When you look at, and trust me, like I said in the Lucid Dream, I've been a part of the problem. So now I'm coming back to solve the problem, because a lot of times people have had these discussions. Yeah, pheomelanin, sulfur, eumelanin, selenium, but nobody. I done went through all the literature. I got it here on my table. I done went through all the literature. Nobody's telling you you know, this is how, you know, blah, 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 blah. Now, I think it was maybe a year or two that I did genocide by ammonia, the melanin. That's the first. You know what? I'm going to link these in a series. So that's what I'll do. I might make this the BGE series, right? So we might do that. Let me write that down. That's a good idea. Let me link these in a series. See, when I link stuff in a series, it helps to keep subject matter together, right? So it might be a good idea to link them in a series, but right, so all right, so I'm gonna do that. But in that first video, Genocide by Ammonia, that is a melanin video, very informative. It's about 3-4 hours. I suggest you go start watching it, take your time. It's also called the Diabetes Fighter Manual. So take your time and go through that book. That video is extremely powerful, right? That class alone, I could have made into a whole extended course and went crazy. But it's just like, I like to give, you know, I give it away. You know what I'm saying? Because I want people to get it, right? But in that video, for the first time ever, I brung to the community at large. This is another thing. Hashtag, EnQi said that first, right? That's the beauty of YouTube also. Because I know some people are like, yo, this nigga cocky, this nigga arrogant. But then some people be like, yo, he faking, he fraud, he ain't. All we gotta do is look at your videos, whoever you are, right? And see when you start going in on the subject. And then we can timestamp mine, right? So I have no problem being wrong. I can stand to be corrected. But as far as I know, I've never heard anybody before me, right? Even now with the Selenium conversation we're getting ready to have, I had to get a $400 state-of-the-art medical textbook. That's what this guy is. And no, I'm not going to tell you the name of it, right? To get this information I'm about to give you. So it's coming from here. So I can't wait for somebody to come for me on it. I'll tear you up. But in that first video, Genocide by Ammonia, I talked about the how pheomelanin is produced as opposed to eumelanin. So at that point, I understood the process enough to know, okay, cool. There's basically one process to how internal melanin is created. So internal, external melanin created differently. External melanin is created via melanosomes, which are enzymes that live inside melanocytes, which are star-shaped cells, right? So I'm gonna just leave that with you. So in Pigment, right, this is what we're getting ready to talk about in the book, right? And we're gonna go through it in the quantum series. So don't think that because I put out the intro to the quantum series and haven't followed it back like it's disappearing. No, that is the focus, the focal point. What I want to do though is get a lot of peripheral stuff out. So look forward to seeing a marathon of videos come out, because I want you guys to be updated with a lot of different concepts before we move deeper into the quantum series, right? So we going through the melanin, and then I'm about to just hit you with a barrage of videos on various scientific topics to get you up to speed. So when we go into the quantum video, it's like, okay, that makes sense. All right, so anyway, the way your body makes external melanin is via melanosomes inside melanocytes, right? When sulfur thiols, right? These are sulfur-based alcohols, are present in the matrix where melanin is being produced, meaning where tyrosine is being reduced to dopamine, and dopamine being reduced to some form of pigment, right? In that process, in that space, when you have sulfur-based alcohols there, you get some form of variation of pheomelanin. And that's how the sulfur incorporates itself into that molecule. Now, when you look up eumelanin, you don't see selenium in the molecular structure. And for years, we have ignored that in our ignorance, with our pride, because we hold on to melanin and prop melanin up. We hold on to it and prop it up. So for years, somebody said it back in antiquity, right? One of the melanin OGs, right? Maybe Richard King, maybe Layla Africa, maybe Drew Pugum. Somebody said it. And it got injected into our conscious from somewhere, right? And then it became repeated. And we just kind of left it there. Now, whoever figured that out, pure genius, because it's not in the structure of the melanin molecule. And you have two different types of eumelanin, and the selenium's not there at the end of the day. So it's like, okay, how'd you figure that out, right? So spoiler alert. We're not going to just talk about selenium in this conversation. We're going to talk about selenium-based proteins, selenoproteins. Now, this is why I'm saying it's pure genius for him to figure out that it was selenium, because we just found out about selenium proteins. Now, again, hashtag EnQi said that first. If you go back to the tour we had for Urban Kryptonite, if you remember that film, that documentary, it was on that. It was leading up to the release of that film, and then on the tour of that film that I introduced, once again, hashtag EnQi said that first, the concept of selenium-based proteins to the people. And then I told people that there wasn't just 20 essential amino acids. Because of the discovery of selenium-based proteins, there could be 20, 30, 40 more proteins that we need, right, that we're not getting in the diet, because we think that everything we need for the cells we have to get from the diet. No, that's why you guys need to join the Living Biochemistry course. Your cells don't just use a thing when you eat it. Your cells take those things. Digestion is the process of breaking everything down that you consume to their rarest forms, back down to damn near the atoms and molecules. Then your body builds 90%. Your cells build 90% of the enzymes they need to do the jobs inside the cell, endoplasmic reticulum, right? So you can't think that you're gonna drink enzymes like this is an enzyme capsule. I'm gonna have a bromelain supplement, or I'm a whatever papaya supplement. I'm gonna do an enzyme therapy, and that's going to take care of the entire enzyme problem. No, enzyme therapy is gonna help you with digestive enzymes mostly, and it'll take the weight off of your metabolic enzymes, because your body won't be converting so many metabolic enzymes to digestive enzymes. So it does provide a great benefit, but it's not retooling all the cells in your body. Okay, you got to understand that. So again, selenoproteins, right? That was your boy, right? And so it's actually now drum roll please. Before we even go through a long video, you got the jewel right here. If you're a bum, you know what I'm saying, like one of those people that watches my videos, doesn't click the notification button, doesn't click the subscribe button, right? But uses what he learns in the video to talk and sound smart in his circle, change his diet, upgrade some stuff, and you're a bum. So if you're one of those bums, it's cool, I get it. But everybody else, please, notifications, subscribe, and stay tuned for the entire ride, even after I give you the jewel of the day, right? And some of you have already put two and two together and got it before, so you got it. But yes, so it's selenium proteins, and it's the selenium proteins that actually reduce tyrosine into dopamine into melanin, right? So this is the key. At some point, hopefully I remember. Well, if I don't remember, then you guys can go look it up, your damn self. But actually, you know what? Let me pull it up real quick, because I know if I didn't write it down, it's still on my computer. But I wanted to just briefly touch on selenium and sulfur, right? Selenium and sulfur. That is also something that's important. I think we talked about it in Genocide by Ammonia. I be having so much stuff on this computer. Alright, you know how we're gonna do this. We just gonna I'm gonna leave that to y'all. Y'all just gonna have homework. I can't, cause we're going through a lot of info. It's gonna be a lot of info, and so I don't want y'all to you know, but I'll say this, right? When you go to the periodic table, right? Maybe I'll put a periodic table up so you can see, but if not, you can Google it, right? Go to the periodic table. When you look at the lines, top to bottom, I guess, you know what I'm saying? When you look at it top to bottom, you see rows. Those rows are families, right? In those families, they're grouped away because many times those family members have an affinity that makes them interchangeable with one another in certain types of molecules and compounds and arrangements. And so all throughout our biology is this back and forth, I mean, between a lot of different elements, you know, copper, zinc, and calcium, magnesium, and this duality that exists, iron, copper for redox and stuff like that, sulfur and selenium. And it's because they're so interchangeable, and it gets very dangerous because oxygen is toxic to the body, and oxygen can also get into the game. It's a part of the family, right? And you got tellurium, but that's kind of rare. But sulfur, selenium, the chalcogen family, and what does that mean? Here's the weird part. Copper, which is somewhere totally different, right? Copper's over there with the transition elements, with the fly guys, you know what I'm saying? But chalcogen means born of copper, right? And it kind of has an affinity. It doesn't trace back, like if you Googled it or Wikied it, it doesn't trace back to the Dogon. But if you're familiar with the Dogon science, it is very reminiscent of that, talking about copper and the way the atoms and, you know. So anyway, that's food for thought, right? So that's all food for thought, all right? The big jewel, though, hopefully you got it, is selenium proteins that actually perform the surgery of turning tyrosine into dopamine. Dopamine is crucially important for your body in terms of your intelligence, your IQ, how you think, your ability to create things, how you, it's just so many different things dopamine does. On top of being the precursor to the various forms of pigment throughout the body, right, including neuromelanin. So now, with that being said, reducing is the process in biochemistry of adding electricity to a thing. Just making it super simple for you. Okay? So if I take these glasses I'm wearing, right? If I take these glasses and I start pumping all kinds of electricity into them, I'd be reducing them. Now, when we watch cartoons and sci-fi movies, you always got the bad guy that has a laser. It's like, I'll reduce it to ash. Because electricity is voltage specific always. Your body's no different. You can't run 100 volts through an 80 volt capacity item, no matter what it is. Once you go above the item's voltage, then you start to set it on fire, destroy it, depending on how high the voltage is, right? So you can reduce something and destroy it. So that's where the popular euphemism, or the way we contextually place the term as something negative, comes from. But that's not the definition. It's not. It's actually the best thing that happens in your body when you reduce a thing. You add electricity to it. Our body's electric. Electricity is synonymous with life. So as you're adding electricity to a thing, you're adding life to it. So think about that We take an amino acid, an aromatic amino acid, and we talked about that before, right? That means there's a benzene ring to capture light, and that means there's a hydroxyl group to be able to convert that into electrons, so to speak, right? So as a way to convert photons and electrons back and forth, right? Just to simplify and make it super simple, right? And that's where you hear melanin or various pigments described as phenols or phenol-like, right? Because that's that structure. And I always do that. People are like, yo, what are you doing? Because it looks like that. It's like the six-sided benzene ring, and then on the bottom is like this open circle. You know what I'm saying? It's like an arc, the arc reactor, right? That's actually probably the original in our biology, because everything that we invent comes from here somewhere. So reducing is adding electrons. So it's amazing that we can take this amino acid and add electricity to it. Nothing else. And then it turns into something else. And when it turns into that new thing, we can again start shoving electricity into it and make it morph again into something else, right? And that's actually what's happening from tyrosine to melanin, or the various pigments, because they're all going to have tyrosine or tryptophan at the root, right? Or you could say phenylalanine, right? If you want to go beyond tyrosine, right? Because you reduce phenylalanine into tyrosine, right? That's the precursor of tyrosine. So, all right, so that's what that is. Hopefully you got that, right? So inside or on external pigment, the reason why you have the melanosomes, the melanocytes, is so that the selenoproteins contained within, right, as well as the ones in the plasma of the body. See, that's another thing. EnQi said that first. Oh my goodness! I single-handedly created the plasma conversation, and guess what? Selenoproteins do. That's where they live at. That's the whole. So it's just beautiful. This is a very beautiful video. So if I get a little annoying throughout the video, just bear with it, because this is a lifetime of research for me, and it's a lot of things coming to fruition after 41. I might have read my first study on melanin at maybe 11 or 12. You know, so studying the thing literally for 30 years and still learning, you know what I'm saying? And it's exciting, right? But so the selenoproteins, neuromelanin, you don't have the melanocytes. It's just the reduction. And so that created the mystery, along with the fact that the average person is looking at the molecular structure like in a conundrum, like he's dealing with cognitive dissonance, because he's saying, yeah, and the eumelanin is selenium based, and he's looking right at the molecular structure of melanin, and there's no selenium there, but he's still saying it, says cognitive dissonance. I'm ending that cognitive dissonance for you, right? Make sure you let them know. EnQi said that first. It's not that selenium is in the structure of a melanin molecule. And that's the thing also. Sometimes the very trained ear, like I've even seen documentaries on melanin, not going to take any shots, but they were horrible, because the people in the documentary were not, like, they were just average melanin. They just knew average information, like for the most part, like most of the documentaries I've seen. They were just giving you what you could have Googled, or like it was nothing documentary-ish. So for me, I consider these videos, like when you see a 2-hour video on this channel, that's a documentary, because I'm going to give you groundbreaking information you haven't got anywhere else, right? Like what you're getting right now. Right? So, give me 1 second. Take this quick call. All right. So, don't y'all love that? When I get distracted and I come back and then we lost the point. Oh, I just changed subjects. I love that, right? All right. So, anyway, hopefully y'all got it. I didn't lose the point. I got the point. I just like to play with y'all sometimes. But hopefully I got it though, right? So now y'all, you watching this video, you above the learning curve on everybody, right? So everybody talking that Melanin talk, you know what I'm saying? You got them on a whole bunch of different, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, if you have fun debating, you know what I'm saying? Everybody doesn't love debates. But so that's where it is. And then sometimes when we get passionate about subject, we kind of discuss melanocytes. Like we'll sometimes slip and use the word melanocyte when we should be saying melanin. And we'll sometimes say the word melanin when we should be using the word melanocyte. So why am I saying that? Because although selenium is not necessarily in the molecular structure of melanin in a dominant fashion, the way we have pumped it up, right? There's probably some trace residues. It can't not be trace residues if it's selenoproteins doing the job. But there's a difference between being the main activating mineral in a protein or peptide versus just being somebody that's on, supporting cast, right? But in the melanocyte, you obviously have the selenium proteins there, so you can say the melanocyte, is selenium, whatever, but not melanin. So let's correct that and let's get this thing together. So, all right. It's just so much. I'm trying to figure out where I want to start, you guys. I'm gonna have to move around. All right, the first thing I want to do is look at, okay, so here's your basic family of selenium proteins. You got fish, SEP15, then you have selenium protein I, J, N, P, S, V. You have selenophosphate synthetase, which is like, if you understand, if you've been following, if you took the black genetics, if you took the God complex course, then you know when you hear selenophosphate synthetase, you know exactly what that means. Like your face should lit up as soon as you heard that. For the rest of you guys, you need to join the classes so that when you hear long words like that, you immediately can put that together. Right? You can immediately put together what selenophosphate is, or at least a rough idea of it in your mind. And synthetase, you should know what that is, right? I'm not going to give it to you here. Join them classes, right? Then you have, okay, so you have two different types of SEP15. You have the SEP15 that's in fish, and then you have the one that's in eukaryotes. Then you have idothyronine selenoproteins, meaning it's selenium proteins that completely run all the processes in the thyroid. So, I don't even know if y'all got what I just gave. I be giving away so much, right? So, so then you have glutathione peroxidase. As of right now, it stands as the most important antioxidant in biochemistry, in humans, in people. On the table, to replace that, melatonin, right? The funniest thing is that melatonin though, and this is why I'm even saying to myself, maybe melatonin can't be the most powerful antioxidant in the body past glutathione peroxidase, because the reason being, melatonin it recruits glutathione peroxidase to do what it needs to be done. So when melatonin sweeps through the body at night, it's recruiting the selenium to activate the NRF2 system partially to get the enzyme production that you need, the cytochrome family, etc. and all that. But so melatonin technically would be like the little brother talking crap without the big brothers showing up. Like, so he would just probably get turned over upside down and dropped in the garbage can maybe if the selenium, like if the big brothers ain't there to make sure his trash talking is good. You know what I'm saying? Then the bullies get the dog and throw him in the, you know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of the way you got to look at that relationship. But more is coming on both. So we'll be able to, you know, I'll keep you updated on both. But that's what we're looking at. And now we see that they're both a part of your pigment system, which I was telling you for the longest is your real immune system. This pigment system, not your white blood cells. Your white blood cells are your body's sanitary system. White blood cells are there strictly to clean up. That's what they there for, strictly to clean up, right? Not protection, okay? So we had scientists with some microscopes that saw white blood cells getting into fights with other bacteria and little nasty microorganisms in the blood and the fluids in the body, and immediately said, oh, this is your immune system. They fight bad guys. No, they don't. They fight competitors because you are their kitchen, and what's floating in you is their food. So when somebody else walks in the kitchen, it's like, yo, what's up? It's beef. Like, this is my food. What you doing? You know what I'm saying? So we saw them going, like, having those little wars, and then science was like, no, this is no. But they were incorrect, right? Which is why white blood cells don't protect us from anything, and they become quite problematic, right? So this is your real immune system. Understand, you're 100 years ahead of the curve. I'm telling you, right? You're 100 years ahead of the curve. This is what the whole entire health industry is going to look like soon, right? The number one nutrient will be the electron. That'll be the whole. It'll be electricity and magnetism on the body, period, right? And if you're talking about electricity in the body, what I'm explaining to you right now throughout the course of this video is that selenoproteins are the guys that control all the electricity flowing through your body. So now is another jewel of the day, right? Now we know, right? So now, see, Joel Wallach's a legend, at least with me anyway. I love Joel Wallach, but Joel Wallach should give me a phone call. Like, Joel Wallach and his people, they should give me a phone call. Like, they should say, yo, good looking out, Dr. EnQi. That was amazing work, damn it. We went to court, fought, and proved that selenium can prevent, reverse, and cure cancer. So now what I'm doing, I'm giving you guys the how it happens. That's what I'm adding on, right? So, if Joel Wallach and his team, if they already are on to it, which they might be way ahead, but they're not sharing it, right? So if they know, they're not sharing, right? And maybe they're not sharing because they don't know. So if they don't know, now they can have it, as well as you guys. But if they did know, then now it's like, shame on you for not sharing sooner. But this is how the electricity moves throughout your body. So in biochemistry, when you add electricity to a thing, it's called reduction or reducing. The mechanism that happens, how electricity is added to a thing, is by selenoproteins. Now, if your real immune system is your body's bioelectricity, then not having adequate levels of selenium in your system will cripple your immune system, which is why, what do you find AIDS patients selenium deficient? Even Ebola, The Ebola virus, I read the clinical papers. The Ebola virus, unless they've come with some corrections to what they put out initially, the Ebola virus replicated in EnQi selenium pathways, right? Cancer, you know, it's just proven now is the only mineral that the government will allow you to say cures cancer or reverses cancer, right? I'm giving you the mechanisms. Not only am I giving you the mechanisms, all you got to do right now is type in cell20.com. Cell20.com. CELL2OH.com. So for my haters, of course, yes, that is an original name because it is the original product, right? It is composed primarily of, obviously, selenium. It's a selenium compound. But sarsaparilla, bladderwrack, and burdock, right? And then some other, McDonald's secret sauce, right? No, I'm just kidding. It's a selenium. But you can go grab the selenium, like get this thing together. Selenium is probably the most, like, this is what I'm telling you, is such a pimped. When I say pimped. This secret is pimped. This is how you change a people, like this one mineral is how you can change a people's immune system up and down, just like flipping a light switch. And it's not in your food. It's not in your food, and people know it. Somebody learned this and made a $1 billion product, which if you take the selenium out, the product damn near trash. I mean, I wouldn't drink it now, what I know. But you have these milk products. I ain't gonna put the name on blast, but there's a milk product you buy in like little cans. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You know what I'm talking about. And it just has the selenium in it. It has a whole bunch. It's like a multivitamin. It's a liquid milk-based multivitamin, but the key ingredient in there is selenium. And doctors tell pregnant women to drink it. They tell cancer patients, AIDS patients, autoimmune patients, drink it. The reason why they're telling you to drink it is because that is the easiest place that they can tell you, besides a supplement, to go actually get some selenium into your diet quick, fast, and in a hurry, because selenium really is not in the soils. It's not. And because everybody requires so much of it, it's just not, it's not in the soils. So, don't let somebody tell you, oh yeah, 2 Brazil nuts should knock it out. Like, don't let them tell you that. Don't be a fool. Okay, because selenium functions in the body. It's very weird the way selenium functions. It's weird if you don't understand the electrical piece with the voltage, right? So remember, everything is voltage sensitive. Any type of conductor, anything that can conduct electricity is voltage sensitive. So your body is no different, and the density and type of pigment you have all throughout your body determines your voltage capacity. Okay. So, anyway, let's go back. Glutathione, I got on one right there, right? So we back to the different selenium proteins. Glutathione, methionine, sulfoxide reductase, selenoprotein, HKLMOTUW, thioredoxin reductase, right? Thioredoxin. Oxidoreductase, that is a iron-based selenium protein. The Gild superfamily, G-I-L-D superfamily. So that is a category within the categories. Glutaredoxin, you see the redox keep popping up. Membrane selenoprotein, methionine, sulfoxide reductase, rhodinase, sulfur transferase, protein disulfides, peroxyredoxin, proline reductase, formate dehydrogenase, glycine reductase, uh, black pepper biosynthesis protein, hint, hint, wink, wink. So now we know, I'm giving you jewels here. So when you hear people talk about black pepper being able to up the bioavailability of various supplements, this is why. Because black pepper helps the selenium proteins, right? So, okay, all right. So you should be getting it, putting this stuff together, right? All right, so there's a couple which are even, there's a couple of selenium proteins that are named so ill, I can't even do it. Like, not only can I not read them, but I can't even do it. Like, I can't even attempt to read these things. All right, so go to cell20.com and get your plant-based, right? Get your earth the way nature intended it. Now that's the other thing that we're going to talk about too. That's the other big thing we're going to talk about is all of the research on selenium, right? Because you'll look at some stuff and you'll see that when selenium was first discovered, the big deal with it was that it was like, okay, this is a toxin. That's how it was labeled, as a toxin. And, you know, years later after studies and research and now it becomes down to the form that you get the selenium in, right? Inorganic versus organic, right? And so that's why I'm like, no, let's just go with the plants. See, the plants in the cell2O are not necessarily structured just on selenium. You know, it's what they enable, how they, you know, so I can't give you everything, but cell20.com, CELL2OH.com, right? Go get that, right? All right, so selenoprotein P. That's the transporter, right? Selenoprotein P is the transporter, and I think it's, you hear that? I think it's glutathione peroxidase number 4, okay? Because there's a family of glutathione peroxidases. So I think it's number 4 that's actually responsible for simultaneously reducing dopamine to eumelanin, pheomelanin, whatever, but also stopping oxidation, right? So you got, okay. All right, bones, right? Why do I have this here? Okay, bones also serve as a proof of electromagnetic feedback system as stress via weight, gravity, or force, right? Note to me to make a note to you. We're gonna start from the top with this. Bones serve as proof alone of an electromagnetic feedback system for those of you that still need that proof. Stress on the body, and we talked about voluntary versus involuntary, right? Stress, so weight, gravity, and force even includes your mind, right? Hits, raising energy demands. Now you have over here the average amount of stress and energy required to manage that stress, becoming genetic information. All right, so now I know what I was saying, all right? How we have different size animals on this planet. That's what I was talking about. Man, had to. So that's, sometimes y'all see me look in the video and y'all see me look down and there's like a little pause or sometimes a long pause. That's why. It's because my notes, like when I'm going through the text, I put little notes all through so I know what I want to talk to you about, the speaking points. And sometimes I'm going so fast, I just look a little far and I got to remember, the jewel got to come back to me like, oh, okay, that's what you were saying. But yeah, so basically I was talking about the structural integrity of our body, how our body is structured versus or not even necessarily versus, but just explaining the why, you know, and how that becomes genetic information. Meaning, why is it that rhinoceroses are the size they are and people are the size they are and we're all on the same planet? Why are elephants different, giraffes different, etc., etc.? Without looking or going into how the structure is set up, like giraffes got a long neck and all this. Everything is environment based. Remember, you're a group of cells that came together to really like brave this world, like conquer this environment, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So depending on how your cells are functioning here, what they want to do, what creates energy in them, and etc., determines what the body of cells, how they function. So giraffes, they eat from the top of the trees. That's where they get their most energy from. Then they need the long neck, whatever the case may be. But that's not the question here. What we're talking about is just size and weight, right? Why are things so big? Because it's the average of the stress on the system in regard to the energy that must be produced and stored in the system. And that is all based on function of the creature, right? So why am I saying bones is a proof? Because bone is where we store, crystallized, like we crystallize. So we have to have a system to store. So we can store fat around here, but in the bones we store electricity, like we store energy. You understand? So that's why your blood, that's where this whole thing about blood being created solely from bone marrow comes from, right? Because if your nutrition is bad, then the blood cells being made have to have the charge, which is the whole purpose of red blood cells. You're getting jewels here. They have to have the charge. So if they can't get the charge from the lung, right? They have to get the charge initially. That life is in your bone marrow. And if we go into the Middle East, or we go into Chinese culture or the Oriental culture, they can tell you how long your lifespan is going to be by the quality of your bone. And they have a whole protocol set up. We have a very powerful protocol set up for the bones as well too, in the Eat Right for Your Haplotype book, which is never on hand because someone's always grabbing that book. That book can never sit still. Right. So anyway, actually, you know what? I actually need to go get that book now, because I think there's something. Oh, you know what? We can get it from here. All right. So some of you guys interested in this kind of information, you may not have this. This is a book that KT and I co-authored. We co-authored this book to honor this guy. Some of you guys know. Right? You may be able to find these melanocyte manifestos still on 40dayfruitfast.com. Right? We had two versions, hardcover and paperback. This is the paperback. Obviously, it's going to be cheaper than hardcover. Anyway, but this book obviously is the Melanin Manifesto. So we went pretty heavy into it. Boom, 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 boom. But I just want to make sure I find, so I don't like to make conversational mistakes that people then use against me in video world as informational mistakes. People do that. So I know sometimes people are like, why you just don't? Yeah, because then in my passion, I'm flowing, I say something, mispronounce a word, people are gonna have the video up going crazy, right? Yeah, it's a lot in here about tyrosine, copper. Like, it's just, you really wanna, all right? But, all right, so a couple things, actually. The other piece is we talked about, Also, oh yeah, the cell's response to external stimuli being stored for future reference, right? So that's another thing. And that plays into that average, right? And that's where your nuclear DNA's structural requirements come from, etc., etc. All right? And it's this relationship right here that is not discussed, right? I've never heard it discussed. In fact, I've never even heard in its entire holistic community the term pineoline. I've never heard that anywhere, so I might be wrong again. But I've never heard pineoline, even though I expect somebody probably said it, I just didn't hear it. Because pineal gland has been such a, you know, it's like right up there with melanin, pineal gland, right? But pineoline is the compound by the pineal. It's the pineal gland's basically way of saying, let me make sure if these guys don't get adequate melatonin production, if they don't have their lymphatic system running, let me at least clean up after myself. So at least there'll be a minimum of sanitation done up here in the brain so I can function, right? Then you have melatonin. Now, here's the thing about melatonin, and we're going to talk about it a zillion different places, and you'll probably hear it. Even KT and I have done it, had the conversation quite a few places, especially when talking about the histonic, right? You can get the histonic capsules, 40dayfruitfast.com. But we've had quite a few conversations about telomerase. So any of you familiar with telomeres, right? Telomeres are the caps at the end of the DNA that they say are responsible for all or some portion of physical aging, depending on whose research you looked at. Well, it's telomerase that actually fine-tunes, lengthens the telomere, the telomeres, which are the caps on the DNA. Now, what's not being discussed with you is that superoxide dismutase is how you repair telomerase, right? So they're telling you only breast milk or even some weird, I don't watch so much stuff. I done seen some weird where they tell you can only get it from the vaginal bleeding and all. I done heard some crazy stuff, right? So don't stop. Just come to the home of science, man. This is real living biochemistry is over here. All that other stuff, I don't know what that is, right? But so superoxide dismutase. So let's unpack this, right? Because you know you got people out there saying all kind of crazy stuff. So let's unpack this. What is superoxide dismutase? SOD for short. It's an enzyme produced usually in conjunction with the mitochondria and what the mitochondria has going on. To clean, like antioxidant type of, perform antioxidant jobs. Now, just another bang bang to the guys out there and the paid community of people trying to prop up this idea that detox doesn't work. This is one of your main quote unquote antioxidants that is working in the body, that's doing things that are masqueraded or labeled as detox. So remember, it's really no detox. What we're really talking about is antioxidation, right? So anyway, superoxide dismutase comes in two flavors. You have superoxide dismutase that is catalyzed, meaning the two most important minerals in that protein structure are copper and zinc, right? So you have a copper zinc form of superoxide dismutase. So that's usually the only time you see them peaceful. That's the only time you see like a peace sign, you know what I'm saying, a ceasefire to the war between copper and zinc, right? Other than that, they Bloods and Crips, right? So you have one type of superoxide dismutase powered by copper and zinc. So now if you don't have excess copper and zinc floating in your system beyond your essential functions, you will not get superoxide dismutase production, at least not the kind based on copper and zinc. Now, flip to the other side. There's another type of superoxide dismutase where the active #1 mineral in that guy is molybdenum. Wait, am I saying that right? No. Excuse me. Manganese. Not molybdenum. See, that is the type of mistake that I'll make, knowing goddamn well coming off the top instead of looking at my notes, right? But luckily I caught that, right? Manganese. I'm just double checking right now. Manganese, SOD. I want to make sure it's that and not molybdenum. Yes, right. Manganese. And so manganese is super important. And again, it's one of those guys that's not out there in the food. You know what I'm saying? So you need it. Especially, like I said, people dealing with viral infections of any kind, or bacterial infections of any kind. People dealing with epilepsy, seizures, fits, children dealing with ADD, ADHD, all of those things. Because manganese breaks down nitrogen-based compounds, and this nitrogen-based compounds is at the heart of all the foolishness going on with seizures and all of the things that I just named. So manganese and manganese-based enzymes break down sulfur compounds, right? Breaks down nitrogen-based compounds. So that excess glutamate that might be on the brain from all the MSG and the crappy foods and the, you know, the years of eating Bragg's amino acids that's loaded with MSG. You know, it's crazy how people have an arrogance. Like, yo, I've been a vegan for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? And you go in their kitchen, they cook everything with Bragg's amino acids. I just be looking at them like, you, wait a minute. I'd be like, you sure you vegan out? I had to bring it back. Are you sure you're vegan out? Right? Do you even understand the implication? The implication of me saying ak, or maybe I should say aku, right? So anyway, we got that, right? But it's the superoxide dismutase that works with melatonin to repair your telomerase at night. Okay, so let's go back to the lucid dreams and all the stuff that we talked about there. See, this is why this is why you have to continue learning. You got to get in the livingbiochemistry.com class, or at least go to livingbiochemistry.com and get the book, Eat Right for Your Haplotype. Think about all of the different things that we talked about that inhibit melatonin production. So if you're up at night, you don't get sleep, you one of them guys, I'll sleep when I'm dead, sleep is for suckers, you all night with the text, with the platinum, you gotta have it, you have to sleep with the TV on. All that blue light is shutting down your ability to produce adequate levels of melatonin. And then if you're not getting anything past a small amount or baseline melatonin, stuff like this is not happening. So you're not getting telomerase reparation. You're not getting them repaired at night along with autophagy. If you don't have the copper levels, the zinc levels, the manganese levels, the amino acid levels, right? Because you're dealing with an enzyme, superoxide dismutase. So this is a chain of amino acids that also have to be available from your diet. And then the active sites along that chain are loaded with mineral sites that you have to put in there to turn it on. It's like having a car, like a little battery operated car with no batteries. That's what your minerals are, is the batteries that come in. But the only thing is, these batteries in your biology come with information. Or they come not only as batteries, but the batteries are antennas that are able to pull information into them. So you can look at it that way, right? But if you don't have the manganese, the copper, the zinc, if you don't have the amino acids to produce the peptides or the enzymes, if you don't have the melatonin production, right? Because you're in the blue light, because you're deficient of tryptophan, because you're not getting the vitamin D that your body needs to convert the tryptophan into serotonin before the serotonin can be converted into melatonin. See, all these different chains. See, people want me to, you see, and it's cool. I'm glad a lot of you guys don't know any better. and you've been misled by charlatans, and then the charlatans that want to occupy my spot attack me, and now I gotta come back and re-explain the shit that they're butchering to you. And it's good because it's giving me a new perspective, because I'm like, damn, I see why they don't know, because I didn't go, you know, in depth enough, right, to stop you from being, you know, accessible by people that don't know better, right? So now you're getting it, right? All that. The vitamin D has to be there, but especially the darker you get. Now look at this. This is all pigment system. This is all pigment system. Everything that comes out of tryptophan being reduced is a part of your pigment system. Everything that comes out of tyrosine being reduced is your pigment system. Anything that comes out of any part of the pigment system being reduced or oxidated is now also a part of your pigment system. This is how the tree goes. You got one starting with phenylalanine and tyrosine. You got another tree starting with tryptophan. Once you start reducing those, you're going to get new products. Those new products begin the pigment family lineage proper, and anything produced from those products are part of the pigment family. So now, think about every single action that takes place in your brain, right? So, but telomerase, because we got a lot of people talking about the importance of telomerase, right? So now everybody go run and get the histonic. Get the histonic and combine it with the detox. You lit. Go get the nootropic, right? If you really want to take your mind to the next level, get the nootropic kit, right? How do you spell nootropic? Nootropic, right? BMP and immune function. What is BMP? What is BMP? If you don't have this book, you probably don't know what BMP is. I want to see if I put it in here, or did I try to force? Did I try to force you to look it up? Yeah, I might have played you. I might have played you. Oh no. Okay, it's here. You're just gonna have to see it. You gotta find it. Right? All right. So, look up, because I think this might be fun. So I'll just let you look it up, okay? Now this, you didn't get in none of those, right? So go into your brain anatomy. And what I want you to do is find all the Kemetic names of your brain anatomy. Those are the earliest. So you have Amun. Right, me and KT talked about it before when we were going on the road, but the book is in here. But then you need some homework, right? But BMP, bone morphogenic proteins. The bone morphogenic proteins work with pinealine and melatonin to control the involuntary nervous system. So now, we wondered all this time, Jules. Right? We said all this time we've been accrediting the actions of our involuntary nervous system, which is basically that controls the most important stuff, the stuff you can't stop doing, like breathing. We always just attributed that to Sigmund Freud's conscious, subconscious thing, right? So it's, oh, your subconscious is in control of your involuntary. It's so much stuff in science that people don't understand the body, just never question, but it's just sitting there in the books. What is subconscious? Like, how could we have, listen to this, this is crazy. How could we have a facet of the mind, which is your subconscious? When you deal with conscious, subconscious, you're not talking about brain, you're talking about mind, the intangible, the magnetic field. How can that regulate your involuntary nervous system in a system based on people that don't believe that the intangible, the things that you can't touch, are in control of the things that you can? But this is prima facie evidence right here, right? But look it up. Look it up. BNP in our moon, pinealine, melatonin, involuntary nervous system. So your pigment system is actually what's running your involuntary nervous system. And now it makes sense. What did I tell you your pigment system is there for? I told you. All information that living organisms have access to come from light. Light is the source of inspiration and information. We, as the most pigmented people on the planet, have the ability, bar none, to translate that light into information for everybody else on the planet. And when I say everybody else, I mean all the other life forms. Some other life forms have various forms of pigment where they can access some of that spectrum, but we have the most complete access to that light, so we can articulate it best, which is the biochemical reason that it seems like urban black Americans control, style and fashion, and everybody follows us. Everybody's following us because biochemically they have no other choice. We interpret the light. So now you see how this makes sense with your involuntary nervous system that has to constantly have all the information in every aspect of every system in your body in order for it to regulate your involuntary nervous system properly, is governed by your body's pigment system so that it can interpret that light for the rest of the body. It just makes more sense. It's just so simple. Like, oh, well, there it goes right there. Pigment turns light into usable intelligence. So it makes sense that the body's pigment system run all of your involuntary actions, as opposed to something that's not even located in the body, that they say doesn't exist. This is madness. How can scientists that tell you the mind doesn't exist, everything is the brain? Now they're changing now. They're changing that shit up now. But you still got a lot of old school scientists that hold to this. How could they overpass something like this? Like, oh yeah, the subconscious regulates the involuntary nervous system, and not look at the textbook like, wait a minute, what is written there? That's the same as saying Casper the Ghost built my engine. It's like, and it gets crazier if I say Casper the Ghost built my engine, and y'all know that I'm a atheist or a non-spiritualist. So if I'm an atheist or a non-spiritualist, I can't tell you something concrete that we all know exists is built by something that is intangible and then tell you that I don't believe in the intangible. This is madness, but you don't know enough to see through it, right? So I'm just giving you these pieces just so we'll get back to Selenium. But I just wanted to give you some of the other components. Like I said, we want the book, co-authored by KT and I, 40dayfruitfast.com. Go ahead and grab it. Alright, so accumulation of selenium in plants is usually dependent on soil contents that, for example, range from 0.02 to 1,500 milligrams a kilogram in the United States. That was 1961. So if y'all thought I came to play with y'all, I did. Because somebody might tell you, yeah, well, the soil whoop and the vegetables stop. Okay, I'm giving you the year. Lakin, L-A-K-I-N, 1961, measured the soil content of selenium. Okay, that was the average. Thus, grazing animals and living humans may suffer from selenium deficiency or toxicity depending on their geographical location and food sources. This is in the $500 textbook that not just scientists, but your medical professionals, your MDs. See, those are different type of doctors. I'm not an MD. I don't pretend to be an MD. I'm a naturopathic doctor. On my degree, that's what it says. Naturopathic doctor. I went to naturopathic school. Okay, not medical school. Right? So it's completely different. You know, it's funny. You should ask these guys that just throw doctor in front of their name. What does that mean? Like, what type of doctor are they? It's like a homeboy doctor? Like, you so smart, like your homeboy started saying you're a doctor and then you just ran with it? Is it a nickname? Or did you spend X amount of thousands of dollars and X amount of hours going through textbooks to earn that? Right? Whatever. But so that's there for you to understand. That was 1961. In the other video, I went through the studies from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s that showed that every decade, the mineral content of the soil is steadily declining. So now we have 60 years ago, 6 decades ago, right? This is an official document done by the government scientists to determine the amount of selenium in the soils for this purpose, livestock and human health. Once it was determined that selenium determined your health completely by itself, right? Now then it became crucial. So it's determined, every decade is dropping, right? The document that these quote unquote dumbass debunkers debunking in the 30s, where the Senate sat down and discussed mineral deficiency of the soil. It's still continuing, right? So in the 60s, it was determined, 1961, that there was not enough selenium in the soil for your biochemical functions every day. And that is that. Now, when they say that, I need you to really understand this and unpack it. They're speaking specifically to the people that consume fruits and vegetables all day, every day. So they're saying vegetarians and vegans cannot, and this is in 1961, vegetarians and vegans could not get enough selenium out of the produce produced in America to stay healthy. Every decade since then, the amount has dropped. We're 6 decades removed from where the soils produce selenium deficiency. It is barren now. There's been no mass remineralization of the soils. It's worse. But here's the thing with selenium proteins and why they were just discovered. Selenium proteins, your body makes later on, or just a bare minimum. So, and then because most of them are swimming somewhere in the plasma, and plasma just wasn't a big topic of research until I poured 10 years into it, and it brought the whole world and said, oh my God, plasma is the star of the show. EnQi said that first, right? Plasma is how the brain works, right? It's a structured water. EnQi said that first. But now you see, right? So selenium is present in 3 types of proteins, right? The groups of selenoproteins, you got 3. Selenocysteine, which is the 21st amino acid. So that was the selenocysteine was literally the first amino acid or selenoprotein that they discovered that led to the other discoveries, right? The second group is selenium binding proteins, right? And then the third group is proteins that are either rich in cysteine or methionine, where selenium is present and selenium just happens to pop in and knock the sulfur out and replace it. They do that to one another, right? So one of the things that we addressed with the histonic in terms of brain function and you know, the wear and tear from high impact sports is this relationship between sulfur, selenium, and oxygen that actually turns the tau proteins rancid and, you know, strangles the brain. So I found the solution and then recruited KT to help me bring the solution to manifest. You got that solution for that brain, the brain trauma. So you got that, right? All right. right. 1957. All right, so here's a list of just notable selenium stuff to put in your wallet. Now, here's the thing. Remember I started out earlier, I mentioned Joe Wallach. Joe Wallach is the super OG, because I was talking about selenium for a long time before I heard of Joe Wallach. It was actually me talking about selenium that had somebody tap me on the shoulder like, yo, you might want to check out Joe Wallach. He won the court case against the feds to be able to say that selenium cures, reverses, and prevents cancer. Crazy, right? But I gave you the how to, right? EnQi said that first. Put me in that combo, right? But now here's you a list of a couple things, right? So you might want to throw this in there. 1957. They learned that selenium deficiency, not getting enough selenium, leads to liver disease, necrosis of the liver. So the reason the liver is able to regenerate itself is because of the selenium proteins that are rebuilding the liver. No selenium or low selenium, that doesn't happen, right? Same thing with the pancreas. And it's funny that the pancreas and the liver works together to manage what? Your body's energy metabolism. Come on. See, so this stuff, when you understand it and it makes sense, then it's another thing. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're looking at these guys stuttering, static. They do a lecture, they can't answer no questions. They like, yo, wait to the end, wait to the end, wait to the end. Wait to the end, then at the end, what are they doing? Oh man, yo, sorry we ran out of time. Gone. They answer no questions because they barely know what they're talking about. That's why I don't do all the different subjects and all that. You know what I'm saying? Well, part of the reason I don't do all the subjects. Some of the other reason is because I'm not, I don't know those areas. So you're not gonna get me doing the relationship stuff, but I'm struggling with relationships, right? Trying to figure it out. But I know there's biochemistry. And that doesn't mean that I'm an immortal Super Saiyan. That just means I know biochemistry. I just felt like I need to put that in there. Me and Chase be having some serious, heated, scientific fantasy discussions. Anyway. All right, so you got that pancreas, liver, 1969. Reaffirmed. Oh, the pancreas thing was in 1987. White muscle disease, right? Check that off for Wallach and them. That was 1958. 1972, FDA approved selenium products as a supplement, whatever the case may be, that your body needed. Okay, that your body needed. And then obviously up to date, the way you detect selenium status is by testing the plasma, right? And which y'all notice in this theme, free testosterone in the plasma, your selenoproteins in the plasma, right? Where's vitamin D circulating? In the plasma, right? Okay, so a selenium protein, see, because when I said, here's another thing, Minister EnQi pseudo. Somebody said, yo, that's pseudo what you said. What I told them was that the blood plasma, the body's plasma systems, the plasma itself is electrified. Now, they look like asses. The people that follow them are even more lost. And now you know the exact mechanism that electrifies plasma at a biological level. The selenium proteins, or lack thereof, in that plasma. So basically, your concentration of selenium-based proteins really determines your body's electrical potential in a large degree, right? So this is why we have, like I said, you got the cell 2O. All right, and then if you want to add something to that, go to the 40dayfruitfast.com and get a product called Melanin. Okay, because here's where it gets crazy. So yes, the copper the copper, right? We know melanin, copper. Yes, because copper is the star of the show for the enzyme tyrosinase. So tyrosinase is like the needle, right? The selenoproteins are like the threads, and you got that tyrosinase, that tyrosine is working on, right? So we go back to Neath, really like threading, stitching, you know what I'm saying, or Anansi, you know what I'm saying, right? So it's you see what I'm saying? I haven't even got to do. I'm just trying to so much information on this topic. I'm just trying to get it all to you and not miss any. All right. So you got that, right? You need the copper for the tyrosinase. You need the selenium for the proteins, right? And then you also need the tyrosine, right? Now here's the thing. Let's say you have plenty of tyrosine, plenty of phenylalanine. You have plenty of copper, right? You're on the melanin drops. You got the drops. They're just like Mama Atomics, but it's melanin, copper based, right? So you got the melanin. Let me see what the melanin formula. Let's see what that formula looks like. Okay, bam, it's right here too. Cilantro, cloves, and milk thistle, right? Cilantro, cloves, and milk thistle in our proprietary blend, right? That's the copper compound, right? So just go to 48 Fruit Fast, or when you type in cell20.com and you scroll all the way to the bottom of that page, you'll see melanin. It's spelled YOUMELANIN. That's for the tyrosinase, right? But let's say you got the selenium for the selenoproteins, you got your cell20, you got your melanin, so you got the copper, you got your histonics or your mama-atomics, so you got your tyrosine levels together, right? So if you're taking a detox, you're getting the tryptophan and the tyrosine in there. But so you got those things, right? What else could cause a monkey wrench in the whole machinery? Well, high levels of blood sugar. High levels of blood sugar inhibit your body's ability to metabolize tyrosine properly. So now you stop the entire process with the high levels of blood sugar. And who's dealing with that? You see, that's why we had to walk all the way through. And this is why the last video coming after the Lucid Dream series, melanin is killing us, is because we don't know these things. That's what I'm saying about melanin is killing us. We have no idea how the frosty flakes is inhibiting melanin production. We have no idea how giving our children sugary pastries, donuts, cakes, coffees, sugary juices, all the sugar, processed sugar in the morning inhibits their brain function, right? So I'm giving you the jewels, and I'm breaking it down deeper so you can see why. Yeah, go get the detox, go get this and that and the other, and now you can articulate it to your friends and family why you're using these things, right? And then you can do research, clinical research, right? On the scientific aspects of what I'm saying. Let me change this battery. We've been going for a minute, right? We're going through all kind of jewels. We dropping all kind of shit, right? So now, let's get to the pink lips. Damn, man, I think you bringing pink lips into this? You gonna involve pink lips? Yes, gotta bring the pink lips into this. For those of you that don't know what pink lips is, it's on that same site, 48fruitfast.com. It's a herbal, it's capsules, it's not liquid. It is a compound based around silica, Chondrus crispus, not just sea moss, but Chondrus crispus, hydrangea, and kelp, right? And so one of the most important things, again, hashtag EnQi said that first, right? The conversation about galactose versus glucose. When you hear these conversations, just know This is my DNA everywhere throughout the health community. Anytime you hear one of these conversations, it's just me reminding you of what my DNA looks like. Because I see videos of mine at 1,000 views, and I see somebody watch the video and redo my video and then get 5,000 views. I'm like, okay, if they're not gonna remind the world where they came from, I'm gonna have to make sure hey, here I am. Just in case you guys were, I guess you're not looking, because I'm here. But if you're looking, I'm here, right? So, glucose versus galactose, right? And then, through one of the alumni from the God Complex course, right? My guy Congo Nature, right? Down in Florida going heavy. He's like a sea moss aficionado, right? So if you're looking for some rare sea mosses and just some information surrounding them, hit him up. Congo Nature. He's us, right? But yeah, he sent me a scientific dossier on sea moss, and in that, when I went through it, I'm like, oh my God, this is one of the key components that makes the Chondrus crispus so beneficial to our biochemistry, is the high content. Like when you look at any starch, a starch is basically sheets of sugars. So it's like a carbohydrate on steroids. A carbohydrate is basically like if you take a little sandwich bag, let's just use for example, you take a little sandwich bag, fill it up with sugar, twist it in a knot, turn it into a little ball of sugar, right? That's a carbohydrate. If you take like 10, 20, or 100 of those balls of sugar and tie them together, that's a starch. So now you guys know the difference between just regular carbohydrates and starches, why starches can sometimes be a lot more problematic. Almost every single starch that we consume, those sugars are glucoses. The only one I know of where those sugars are not glucoses and they're galactoses is the Chondrus crispus plant. So that tells me that there may be, you know, just the way I, you know, process info, I'm like, in EnQi vision, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is an aspect of sea vegetables that's different than land vegetables, right? Because it's a different entire atmosphere. They may need a different way for their energy to be presented to those plants, right? So those plants, you know, it may be different, right? And then the way they store energy may be different, right? These organisms are older than us. Right? So the crazy thing, why I'm saying that, is because you have another thing. So now look, I don't know what it was, maybe 5, 6 years ago. It might have been 4 years ago. I don't know. It might have been longer, right? But I know about 7, 8 years ago, I think it was. No, it might definitely be long. It might be 10. I don't know. A really long time ago, I introduced the subject of selenoproteins when it was at just the very first selenoprotein being discussed. Again, as always, I was ostracized and called pseudo because I was just too far ahead of my time. And it's crazy is because it's not like I discovered it in my crib. Like, this is a global scientific discovery. And when I discuss it in our communities, like, I'm pseudo when people aren't even taking the 3 seconds required to type it onto their Google search. It's crazy how ignorant we are and how complacent we are in our ignorance. But now here's a new one. Seleno sugars, right? So now there's a new cat. See, this is what I told you guys all along, man. Science don't know the body lock, stock, and barrel. So if you know less than what they do, that's the blind leading the blind. You got to get in the driver's seat. LivingBiochemistry.com. That's the only way. It's the only way. But you're going to learn this thing enough to get to the level to be able to do this, what I'm doing with you. See how I'm able to bring you this information like this and see the connections and break it down into detail? Everybody that comes to the Living Biochemistry course, by the time it's finished, is going to be able to do that for you in that same detail for themselves and their family and loved ones. And if you want to have that vision the knowledge to be able to really understand this like this, you got to join the class. You got to join the class. But Seleno sugars, these are a whole new. It's a whole new. It's going to be a whole new area. It's going to be a whole new ballgame. So now, let's look at EnQi Vision. Matter of fact, let me just toss a few things to you in EnQi Vision, right? We talked about the energy system. We talked about your pigment system. Like if what I'm giving you was not solid, what would be the chances of now the discovery of selenium sugars in the body? So now we got selenium proteins, we got selenium sugars. This is telling you that the body, the number one system in the body is the pigment system. Make sure when they even discuss the melanin system in the body, the pigment system. EnQi said that. Fifth? Yeah, that's because they first, right? No. I know I'm on the ancestor's shoulders with that one, but the one to be able to articulate it to you in the most accurate detail thus far is definitely the LeBron James of all the Hall of Famers, right? So you go through the Hall of Fame list of melanologists. Make sure I'm LeBron on that joint. Like, just go. You know what I'm saying? Just go. Or if y'all want me to battle, you know what I'm saying, Richard King for the GOAT. Africa, you cool, but you got a lot of crazy stuff. You can't be the GOAT. You like where would I rank Africa in melanologists? Africa's like Magic Johnson. Like, you definitely easily top 5, top 3, but I can't put you in the top 1 or 2 because you promoting soy Africa. So, still love my teachers though. Dr. Africa's a boss, a beast, a legend, and you would not have Minister EnQis without Dr. Africa's, Drew Pulcrum's. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying? It gets rough when you're actually in the process of doing it. Like when the younger people come along and say, hey, the older guys, you know, the masters, they kind of had 1 or 2 things wrong. So just saying. I mean, just want to point those 2 things out and get out the way. Like, what? How dare you challenge Lord God, such and such? You know, it gets crazy. You know what I'm saying? Then a few years down the line, they look back like, damn, that young boy is sharp. That was correct. Then it's, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, I'm hoping, you know, 10, 20 years down the line, somebody comes behind and really takes this. I'm hoping they come through the course because we got some nasty cats, and then we got cats that have already making a big impact in their cities. You know what I'm saying? Helping folks out. So anyway, so you got that. Seleno sugars coming soon to a theater near you. And what are Seleno sugars? Make a long story short. Drum roll, please. Yes, you guessed it. Selenium and galactose. Combinating up, right? 1972, they discovered whatever. Okay, here we go. Let's get this. Selenocysteine biosynthesis and its insertion into selenoproteins and prokaryotes is mediated by products of 4 genes. Cell A, cell B, cell C, cell D. All right. A special translation factor, selenocysteine, tRNA, and selenophosphate synthetase. Do you guys remember me mentioning that? Okay. Those are the special translation factors, right? So all of these things can be missed. So what if you have enough selenium for your body to produce the selenocysteine, but not enough for the selenophosphate and the selenocysteine tRNA? Guess what? You get no translation, right? So it's levels to this thing. All right, so of the 25 selenoproteins so far identified, In mammals, it is the UGA codon. Selenocysteine is usually located in active sites of selenoenzymes where it participates in redox reactions. Reduction and oxidation, that's what redox means. Okay? So when you hear the word redox, that is literally doctors and scientists trying to hide from you the fact that they're talking about electricity. Because redox is when a thing pushes electron out into something, and oxidation is when a thing pulls an electron out of something into itself, or out of it just into wherever, right? So when you hear redox, you're talking about the flow of electricity. So let me do that again. Selenocysteine is usually located in the active sites of selenoenzymes where it participates in controlling the current of bioelectricity in your body. Structurally and functionally, selenoproteins are categorized into three main enzyme families: thioredoxin, like, and here's my favorite, right? Well, not my favorite, because this subject is so exciting, but endoplasmic reticulum proteins. Endoplasmic reticulum proteins. What does that mean? Dr. EnQi, what does that mean? Huh? Not in it. Endoplasmic reticulum. What is that? The endoplasmic reticulum is the membrane. Let's do this too. There's a lot of good stuff to unpack. The cell membrane, right, is the outer part of the shell. We look at it as like the shell or the skin of a cell, right? The skin of a cell. Let's do that. The skin of a cell is called the cell membrane. The cell has an external skin and an internal skin. There's an external membrane folded up. And it's crazy that it's folded up, because that's kind of what it does. Sitting in the center of your cell is called endoplasmic reticulum, and that is where all of your hormones and peptides and proteins are built. So now, improper production of a cell's proteins. Oh, wait a minute. That's called cancer. Oh, that's what that's called. Now, is that called cancer? I think that's called cancer. So it's selenium proteins and selenium enzymes that actually do the work. So we know that the blueprint is in the nuclear DNA, then the RNA is the foreman, goes out, tells guys, okay, get started on this. Now we meet the workers. Now we meet the construction workers, the guys that are actually building your hormones. So now how can you get your hormones set back straight without cell 2-up? How can you get your hormones set back straight if you don't have the selenium enough for your endoplasmic reticulum to properly create the hormones? Right? Forget about the cascade, how they're flowing. But to build them, you don't have the selenium. How can that happen? You can't. So now you got hormone issues. All of the world's hormone issues now. Look at them. Selenium could be sitting in the core. Right? But because selenium proteins were only discovered so long ago, we got tons of books that describe these same issues without that in there. Problem. Thyroid issues. We know your thyroid controls how your body alkalines its system. All you alkaline-aholics, I'm alkaline. It's alkaline food with alkaline water and alkaline diet, I'm alkaline. I'm an alkaline vegan. If your thyroid controls your body's ability to alkaline itself, its ability to utilize vitamin D and calcium and boron and all those things, how can your thyroid function properly if you don't have iodine? And if you have the iodine without the tyrosine, how can those things function without the selenium? See, this is why you got all the drops. This is why the drops, this is why these, like the Melanin, the Cell 2 mama, this is why these are liquid drops. Because when you drop it under your tongue, the nutrients is going directly to the bloodstream where the cells can grab what they need and incorporate it into whatever they're doing, like that. The capsule is still cool, but you have to go through digestion, which is a whole different process, right? So I take into consideration which formula, when I want to make a thing, which delivery system best suits what I'm trying to do, right? But this is why you have the U-melanin, the copper base. You have the Cell 2O, which is the selenium base. You have the Pharmageddon, which is the magnesium base, right? And just again, you know what I'm saying, to people that don't like the names of my compounds, right? Hey, when you invent something, you can name it whatever you want to, right? I don't see you out there campaigning against doctors with the crazy ass names of the stuff going on with you know. So should I stop? Let me see if I should stop. Or I say keep flowing, keep flowing. And we talked about this in a bunch of other videos, so I'm not even gonna go deep into, even though now you could probably go deeper into yourself. I'll just point you in the right direction. Look up the pancreas islets, the islets of Langerhans or Langerhans. Those are the stars of the show. The guys that produce the pancreas, the insulin and the glucagon or glucogen, whatever you want, how you want to do that. The alpha, I think it's alpha and beta cells inside the pancreas, so the islets of whatever. Selenium is a part of the activating matrix for those guys. So again, listen to these guys tell you don't need supplementation for type 2 diabetes. Where are you going to get the extra selenium your body needs? Where are you going to get the extra chromium, the vanadium, right? Then the exercise piece. That's where we get the calisthenics specifically. Push-ups, pull-ups, things like that. That forces your body to produce more mitochondria. So if you need more mitochondria, you need to get calisthenics. So when you add these things together, diabetes, type 2 diabetes don't stand a chance. You don't even need to call me or do no consultation for that. Just follow the information. Right? Type in my name, EnQi and diabetes, and watch all the videos, do the work. Type 2 diabetes is getting simple, man. Seriously, man. People are hitting me up like, yo, bro, it's been a month and my doctor said we lit. Yo, it's been 15 days. Yo, I even had one person like, yo, 4 days. Everybody's at different levels with their type 2 diabetes. Everybody's at different stages with their willpower, their food addiction. So the results are all different. But it's not just me. Plant-based lifestyles are knocking type 2 diabetes ass out all over the globe. All over the globe, right? Just very simple, you know what I'm saying? Ours is tailored, right? And it's easy. So anyway, let's keep going. Selenoproteins, protein folding, redox and electron flow, stress management, brain, nerves, heart development, right? So your brain, nerves, and heart, right? The most important stuff in your body, their development is guided, initiated, guided, and maintained by the pigment system. So in essence, they are a part of the pigment system. So you're gonna have to make Minister EnQi, like, this is what I need y'all to do. I need that Nobel Prize. Like the same way this guy, what's the guy named that kidnapped all the black folks and ripped their vaginas out? The father of quote unquote gynecology. What's his name? Where you at? Got the statue downtown. James Sims, Mr. Marion, Suge himself, the original, right? The same way he's the father kind of guy. I did you guys. You guys gonna start the movement, right? We need a hashtag for it. Hashtag EnQi, father of melanology. Ooh, that Melanology. Dude, no, I ain't gonna do melanology. I'm gonna stick with the BGE because it's shorter. Melanology is too long. Sometimes YouTube video titles look a little weird because we're trying to shove words into a limited space. You know what I'm saying? So, but melanology, I think, is almost the same as saying black genetics, right? So BGE, the Black Gene Ethics or Black Genetics series. I think that's where I was going initially with BGE. Not necessarily black genes in terms of this information is strictly for black people, because you've heard me say that those almost, you don't have pure like that on this planet anymore. You have just variations and varieties, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you do. You have some pure in some pockets, but for the most part, most of this planet is mixed now. So you can't really come at it like that. But what I intended to communicate with black genetics is I wanted to, tailor the conversations towards urban black people and black people around the globe, because we didn't have systems, we still don't, built to support us like everybody else does. All walks of Europeans, they built hospitals dedicated to their people and their families. So you don't see Jewish people most times at everywhere. They have Jewish hospitals, right? So we didn't have that. And knowing that everybody has different biochemistry, I'm like, yo, somebody has to start talking to us. And my dad always told me, if there's a book you're looking for and you can't find it, that means it's not written, and it also means it's your job to write it. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do the black genetics. I had a ancestral, I went through an ancestral mind awakening ceremony. And post that ceremony, it began, that ceremony opened the way, so to speak, for all the information that will become the Black Genetics series and all that kind of stuff to lead us to where we are right now. So I think I might name this, that's what that might be. So Minister EnQi, father of BGE. And BGE, Black Gene Ethics, Black Gene Ethics, are about the rules you need to have to take care of your body's melanin. Hello?
Hey, we outside.
Alright, so what that means is I'm about to have to wrap up this video. Matter of fact, let me pause it. So in your time, that might have been a second. In my world, that was like a real time. It was like two hours real quick. All right, so closing this down, as I know it's probably been an hour and a half so far, maybe 90 minutes we at. Gave you a lot of good stuff. You almost have 2 mineral requirements, except with selenium, you need a daily maintenance level. Then the surplus to match your toxin or inflammation rate, which is also melatonin dependent, as melatonin uses selenium for a variety of things. So we kind of talked about that. Just hitting my notes to make sure I gave you everything, right? We didn't do the Jacob Esau, right? But if you're interested in the science that might be encoded in the Bible, right? There's a lot of biogenics in there, and so there's a way to look at the story of Jacob and Esau as an overlay into the organization of organisms, right? When we talk about pigment organizing all the cells, when you look at your skin, for instance, you have a melanocyte, and that melanocyte controls anywhere from maybe 20 to 40 skin cells, right? And so that's what your tissue is, largely, is melanocytes, the star cells, and each one of the star, like, I guess we want to say tentacle, for example, or arm, is attaching to other cells and managing the cells around them, right? So we talked about that, or we didn't talk about that, but now you can play with that if you're into that kind of thing. Me, I like science wherever it is, especially in ancient texts. I love the way the ancients described the phenomena that we're describing, because that's all it is. the ancients doing their research and describing the same phenomena with different words, from their time period, and what we got now. You know what I'm saying? And when you go through both, you find the synergy, and it helps you become more accurate when you look at today's top technology and what's going on when you look at yesterday's, right? All right, so also, we talked about glutathione peroxidase, right? Now that might be a big jewel, right? We talked about glutathione peroxidase in the Lucid Dream series. You remember, I told you that oxidated glutathione peroxidase molecule is what initiates, in whole or in part, your REM sleep. So now we have more. So now we have a process. Now watch this. Now we have a process by which the selenium through the body that's being used as an antioxidant, when it's spent, can be sent to the brain for other usage, right? So when we get sleepy and we can no longer recycle adenosine into adenosine triphosphate, the adenosine functions as a vasodilator to open up and go to the brain. And when it gets to the brain in large quantities, that is what signals the beginning processes to say, or the pioneer to say, hey, let's start to secrete melatonin, let's put the body to sleep because we're having trouble recycling energy, right? Creatine. And you have more ability to recycle energy the more mitochondria you have, the more mitochondria you have. That's the advantage people that do calisthenics have. So if you go to the videos, the comedic science of bodybuilding or building God bodies, something to that effect. There's a series I did. It'll go in depth. And it's like a free course. It's like so many free courses I get. Oh man, I knew I was about to miss one. Because I was about to title this video this way. And the video is not over, so you never know what the title is gonna be. But this actually, and think about all the research you got from this video so far. What I'm about to say is what actually started the whole down this road and me buying this textbook and all this kind of started with this. Me getting this understanding that no black person, you can call yourself African, melanated, Moor, Haitian, whatever you want to call yourself, Native, Indigenous, whatever. No pigment dominant, brown to black person on this planet, let me rephrase that, in civilized society has reached his potential in terms of neuromelanin and melanin hormones being melatonin, you can consider serotonin, anything dopaminergic, your melanin stimulating hormones, melanin concentrating hormones. Nobody has had their full, no pigment dominant person in the last 100 years. I would even go further. And say the last 100 years is, no, I would say the last 1,000 years has been able to reach their potential, even close. So don't, even physically, don't look at Floyd or LeBron or Michael Jordan as the top of the food chain. Just look at them as the best of the worst, right? Even intellect-wise, right? Whoever you look at as some of the brightest, most intelligent, articulate men of color that you have ever saw or read or heard about, if they lived in the last 1,000 years, they haven't even maxed their biological potential. Why? Because of the high blood sugar that we all have. Even people that are non-diabetics, I need you to understand this. High blood sugar, low blood sugar, all these are standards we created based on examining our blood after various amounts of time with this environment, the chemical soup, and the crazy diet. Vegan babies have a complete different biochemistry as babies that were grown on processed stuff and then became vegan. Like, it's a whole different vibe, right? So that's why that's so important. I really need you guys to support that initiative, right? Make sure y'all supporting the vegan babies. But if you don't have, and we know from testing, the soils have been depleted with selenium. We know from testing that what we thought was selenium activity was the basic bottom of the line, just getting a pinch of selenium in. And as we saw with higher levels, you get more selenium protein, more selenium enzyme development. Now you have selenium sugars. It just is a whole new biochemistry opening up surrounding selenium and pigments. So in a situation where you don't have adequate selenium levels because they don't exist in the soil, you're not getting adequate sleep, you're not producing the melatonin, at least not at full capacity. You have a synthetic diet loaded with all this processed sugar. It is impossible. Even your best athlete, best genius is still only reaching the potential that he can reach while being restrained by the chains on his ankle. Like, he's only flying as high as he can get till the chains kick in. It's like that dog, a real bad, mean dog in the yard, and he start barking, and he start running to you fast, trying to get you in there. A chain. That's how these nutrient deficits function in your biology, right? Also, man, I can't believe I'm about to skip this. Some crazy jewels on this page. Along with selenium, regulating all the stuff we discussed, the microbiome, man. So the leaky gut convos and all these things, now we coming back with, right? And I told you guys years ago that it was the pigment system. I told y'all that. Y'all didn't listen. Y'all let all these doctors from other persuasions, they're not holistic doctors or practitioners, they came in and telling you all this stuff, telling you that's not it. Y'all told me what? Oh, you're pseudo EnQi. No, it's different. It's the leaky gut. Leaky gut. It got so crazy with leaky gut, I wanted to slap people when I just heard leaky gut. It got me annoyed. Now it's like, okay, cool, I can deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Because people are getting it. That's why I told y'all white blood cells. Remember, again, EnQi said that first. I was the first person to tell you white blood cells is the problem, because white blood cells are causing the leaky gut. So we don't want to look at microbiome and say leaky gut unless, at least for me anyway, unless we're going to address, like for me, it's like the Cosby thing. It's like, how's Cosby in jail and then these guys are not, right? Same thing in your biology, right? We're going to blame the microorganisms, but we're not going to blame the white blood cells that we know secretes the histamine that opens the big holes that become leaky gut in the first place. But selenium regulates the microbiome. So if we're looking at rashes, eczema, if we're looking at vitiligo, right? If we're looking at vitiligo, if we're looking at vitiligo, right? If we're looking at vitiligo, what are we looking for in vitiligo? Well, for vitiligo, you're gonna definitely need plenty of selenium bioavailable, like the kind that we have at cell20.com. CEL, the number 2, OH.com. The OH is O, but remember in biology it's like the hydroxyl group is HO, but I just flipped it like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a cell 2O. You know what I'm saying? So, but like H2O, cell 2O. All right, whatever. But anyway, so you get the selenium because it regulates the microbiome, right? So people dealing with vitiligo. Now you understand the key players in your pigment system, right? So somebody shouldn't be able to tell you BS, right? You know to get, well, if you get the book with the protocols in it, eat right for your haplotype, Go to vitiligo. It's loaded. Like it go through the whole thing. Super detailed. But here, you know what I'm saying? In detail that's not in the book, you're getting specifically on your pigment system. So I would say the whole BGE series, because I'm gonna episode them for you so you can keep track of them. But then also the lucid dreaming series is important too, because that's kind of how we got here, right? So selenium regulates the microbiome. What happens when quote unquote good bacteria don't have selenium? Wow. Studies are showing, right? You like that, right? Studies are showing that when microorganisms don't have, now in the lucid dream series I told you, melatonin regulates the sleep-wake cycle of the microbiome. That's one of the reasons why they're in you, because they need parts of your system to regulate theirs. But now we got this piece. So selenium is regulating their body's electrical systems and thereby regulating their metabolites. And the metabolites that come out of the microorganisms are what determines whether they're good or bad to our bodies. So we don't have the selenium, guess what? The metabolites coming out of the microbiome are also acting like histamines, putting holes in the lining of your tissues. Now, it's getting hot. All right, so now here's another star of the show. Now watch this one. We gonna be around to the body drop, and if the feds brought us in, we could at the same time got. Watch this one. I love this one. Selenoproteins at higher quiet. Aubrey and Kylie now have company, right? Sunshine came over, so now they off the chain. Sunshine was our EnQi Vision model. If y'all ever seen that page where it's three, it's Aubrey, Kylie, and another baby. They all got on the onesies from EnQi Vision. The third baby is Sunshine. So she's here now, so that's the trio, and they just wilding going in. So pardon my little ones, right? But let me give you this. At higher or super nutritional levels, selenium may function as a pro-oxidant. And this anti-cancer pro-oxidant role of seleno compounds is most likely due to generation of reactive species and oxidation of thiols. Did you get that? Did you get that? So now I'm giving you, so I told you the problem, right? So the problem is when dopamine is being reduced through the process to form eumelanin, one of the two types of eumelanin. If you don't have a high enough amount of selenoproteins, then basically your body will add in some sulfur. Like it's almost like you need, like say for instance you need, remember we go back to the Chalcogen family. Let's say for instance in this mixture, this melanin mix, we about to bake this cake, this melanin cake. We might need 50 milligrams of selenium. Or no. Let's do it like this, I'll do you one better. We need 50 milligrams in this cake batter of chalcogen mix. Right? Chalcogens. So now, I could put the 50 milligrams of selenium and be lit. It'll be tight. Airtight, we good. Eumelanin cake. But if I put 40 grams of selenium, I'm going to have to fill that other 10 milligrams in with some other chalcogen. So it might be tellurium, which never happens. But it might be, which happens in most cases, is going to be cysteine or sulfur. So now you got the 40-10. That's going to be somebody with really dark brown skin, like a Durant, but there's a small amount of that. You know, so he's got the lighter or the darker pheomelanin because he's got that little sulfur in there. So you can also look at people with light skin or brown skin. You know, you can determine that there's a overall selenium protein deficiency there, right? So you can just look at that like that, pheomelanin, indication of selenoprotein malfunction or deficiency, right? All right, so you know what? We talked about that. Melanin at tumor sites is evidence that fungus is driving selenoproteins in cancer tumor cells. All right, and I think that's the last jewel I'm gonna give y'all. I don't think I'm gonna give y'all nothing else, man. I don't think I'm gonna give y'all nothing else, because that's one of the conversations. Oh, I might have to give y'all something else. Damn! But that's one of the conversations, like that's what got melanin the bad name from the beginning in science. They saw it at tumor sites in some of these places like this and said, oh, this must be a waste product. This is a metabolite, a byproduct of metabolism, right? And so you see that when you start smoking and your lungs get sick, you see the black melanin deposits. When you have areas in the body where sickness is creeping in, you have melanin deposits or pigment deposits. So you get the lipofuscin and all those other kind of different pigments. You start walking down this road. But now we see the reason. That's letting you know that fungus is driving selenoproteins. That's why you see the melanin at the tumor sites, right? So when you look at the body with this new view, it just makes it all so simple to understand this thing. All right, and so the last, because I got too much. It's too much, right? It's too much. Tobacco, right? Antagonists of selenium. So anybody that smokes tobacco, you don't have enough selenium. I don't care what you're taking. So you have to have, if you smoke weed in blunts, you have to have a selenium supplement in your pocket at all times. If you smoke cigarettes, you have to have cell20.com, CELL2OH.com. You have to have it because tobacco flushes the body's selenium out. Right? The same way caffeine flushes the body's water out. So what if you have a tobacco caffeine situation? A lot of people do, right? You do coffee and a cigarette. So you just got rid of your body's selenium in your body's water. So you got rid of the electricity and the water it sits in. Crippled. Right? Ooh, I should go through the different numbers between Caucasians and African Americans in terms of selenium problems. Ooh, we're not gonna do that. Maybe I might do that in the living biochemistry class if we get time. But all right, base function is to neutralize acid. Why the hell did I write that down? And that's obvious. Okay, that's why. All right, so just as a reminder for you to get the info a different way. So when we talk about minerals, or me anyway, because probably alone with these conversations with you, right? So when I talk about minerals and their placement in enzymes and proteins and how they behave, what I want you to understand is the behavior of the mineral of itself is based on the frequencies of the electromagnetic spectrum that's carried in that mineral, right? And then that mineral in and of itself, that atom has radiation itself that it gives off. So atoms in and of itself are radiation reactive. So the personality, the characteristics of each element, of each mineral is carried into peptides and proteins. And so when you look at bases, so when we look at the health aspects of how selenoproteins just run the whole pigment system in regard to your immune system, it's the ability to bring into the proteins that base, that ability to donate electrons, right? Selenium is a base. It donates electrons. So what do selenoproteins do? They reduce, right? They reduce amino acids and other compounds in the body. How do you reduce? You donate electrons, right? How do you neutralize acid in the body? You donate electrons, right? So if we're looking at sickness as a mechanism of free radicals, if we're looking at sickness as a measurement of bioelectric activity, if we're looking at sickness in any of these ways, then it's the selenium directly, right? But I'm gonna close with this, right? 2 little points and we out of here, right? If selenium is tied to pigment activity, if selenium is tied to pigment production, how in all of goodness could we all have the same basic recommendations for selenium? This is why the jury's still out, depending on whose research you look at, on type of selenium to use for supplementation versus amount of supplementation to keep you in there. Because above the max, you're toxic. Below the bottom, you're toxic from deficiency. So below the bottom, you're deficient. Below the top, you're toxic. But what's going to determine your bottom and top is your pigment level. And your pigment level, like I told you, is determined by your mitochondrial function, right? So all right, so yeah, that's pretty much that. And then the endocrine protocol, and we're closing down, right? We're gonna close it down. Oh man, with all the people I got hitting me up about goddamn STDs. Okay, lysine. Everybody knows about lysine, right? The reason why lysine is so powerful, because lysine works with selenoprotein. So the way lysine is able to disable viruses is because selenoproteins take lysine and take out active controlling amino acids from the viral sequence and insert lysine, which disables their ability to replicate. But it's selenoproteins that are actually grabbing the lysine and infecting the viral agents with them, right? So even lysine is selenium dependent. So you people that might be using lysine for whatever situation, if you don't have the selenium, you're still screwed, right? So we're gonna wrap it and we're gonna go, because I got consultations.
Accessibility options.
I got consultations sitting on my dining room table. The little ones have company, so as you can guess, it might get a little really real. I just want to make sure, real quick, before I end the video though, I want us to October. October. What's this? No. Okay, no, I can't find it. Okay, so I'm gonna just leave it on my computer screen, family, and handle my business with the family. All right, well, I'll find this. So, thanks to the family. Don't forget, I'm gonna give you the endocrine protocol. We're gonna talk about that real quick. And
so
then we out.
real simple. This is an excerpt from the Melanin Mind State. Okay, and when I created this, I used it on myself a few times, practiced it, used it on the family, but I didn't quite really get to perfect it until I used it on Jason, who is a, if you look at him, he looks completely European, but he's actually mixed. His mom is darker than me, his dad is completely Caucasian. Jason was almost my complexion. Then he went to a wedding, the reception, food, start eating crazy, and then it all went crazy. But so if you listen to this video and then you look at this, you'll be able to put it together yourself and see the logic and how you can apply it. You see them here. Ooh. The glycocalyx repair set with the detox and the classic.
Much needed right there. Classic.
I'll tell you what, Kim was in, Mrs. Johnson, we got her out. She was very unfairly treated. And there are many other people like that.
Yeah, we have Larry Hoover's lawyer with us today, and it's a prisoner that we're focused on. He has 6 life sentences, and they have him next to the Unabomber doing 23 and 1.
What did he do, Larry? What happened? What did he do?
Why is he in?
Yes, tell me. Tell us this.
Allegedly, it's for conspiracy from prison, from state prison. It's alleged. But we do believe, even if he did commit those crimes, the sentence was overly broad and too
What was the sentence?
6 consecutive life sentences in the most secure prison in the world, also known as a clean version of hell, for basically an economic crime.
What prison is that? Name of the prison?
ADX Supermax in Florence, Colorado. They house the Unabomber, Al-Qaeda operatives, mass killers, Oklahoma City bomber, things of that nature.
How old is he? How old?
68.
He's 68 years old?
Yeah, 68 years old.
And really, the reason why they imprisoned him is because he started doing positive for the community. He started showing that he actually had power, that he wasn't just one of a monolithic voice, but he could wrap people around. So there's theories that there's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go and get him free, because he was doing positive inside of Chicago, just like how I'm moving back to Chicago. And it's not just about, getting on stage and being an entertainer and having a monolithic voice that's forced to be a specific party. People expect that if you're black, you have to be Democrat. I've had conversations that basically said that welfare is the reason why a lot of black people end up being Democrat. They say, first of all, it's a limit to amount of jobs. So the fathers lose the jobs, and they say, we'll give you more money for having more kids in your home. And then we got rid of the mental health institutes in the 80s and the 90s, and the prison rates just shot up. And now you have Chirac, what people call Chirac, which is actually our murder rate is going down by 20% every year. I just talked to the superintendent, met with Michael Sachs, that's Rom's right-hand man. So I think it's the bravery that helps you beat this game called life. They tried to scare me to not wear this hat, my own friends, but this hat, it gives me power in a way. My dad and my mom separated, so I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home. And also, I'm married to a family that, not a lot of male energy going on. It's beautiful though, but there's times where, it's something about, I love Hillary, I love everyone, right? But the campaign, I'm with her, just didn't make me feel as a guy that didn't get to see my dad all the time, like a guy that could play catch with his son. It was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman, that's my favorite superhero. And you made a Superman cape for me also, as a guy that looks up to you, looks up to Ralph Lauren, looks up to American industry guys, non-political, no bull. Put the beep on it, however you want to do it, 5 seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done. Right now, you gave me the heart to go to Adidas, because at Adidas, when I went in 2015, we were a $14 billion company, losing $2 billion a year. Now we have a $38 billion market cap. It's called the Yeezy effect. And I went to Casper. We had a meeting in Chicago, and I said, you have to bring manufacturing onshore, not even shore, into the core. It's not about the borders, the core of Adidas. And Chicago is the core of Middle America. And we have to make Middle America strong. So I had the because I had enough to put on this hat. I mean, this Adidas thing made me a billionaire. And I could have lost $200 million walking away from that deal. But even with that, I knew it was more important for me to take the chance of walking away from that deal than to have no fathers in Chicago with no homes. And when we do have prison reformation, because it's habilitation, not rehabilitation, because we didn't have the abilities in the first place. We never had anyone that taught us. We didn't teach us. Exactly. We had no one that taught us, right? So it's more important than any specific deal, anything, that we bring jobs into America and that we provide a transition with mental health and the American education curriculum that Jim has worked on. Larry Hoover also has a curriculum that he's worked on. We have Montessori curriculums that we worked on. WeWorks has a beautiful curriculum. The Waldorf establishment has a curriculum. We have meditation. There's a lot of things affecting our mental health that makes us do crazy things, that puts us back into that trap door called the 13th Amendment. I did say abolish with the hat on, because why would you keep something around that's a trap door? If you build in a floor, the Constitution is the base of our industry, right? Of our country, of our company. Would you build a trap door that if you mess up and you accidentally something happens, you fall and you end up next to the Unabomber? You got to remove all that trapdoor out of the relationship. The four gentlemen that wrote the 13th Amendment, and I think the way the universe works, it's perfect. We don't have 13 floors, do we? You know, so the four gentlemen that wrote the 13th Amendment didn't look like the people they were amending. Also, at that point, it was illegal for blacks to read, or African Americans to read. And so that meant if you actually read the amendment, you get locked up and turned to a slave. Again, so what I think is we don't need sentences, we need pardons. We need to talk to people. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I was connected with a neuropsychologist that works with the athletes in the NBA and the NFL. And he looked at my brain. It's equal on 3 parts. I'm going to go ahead, drop some bombs for you. 98 percentile IQ test. I had a 75 percentile of all human beings, but it was counting 8 numbers backwards after it was repeating. So I'm going to work on that one. The other one's 98% Tesla, Freud. You know, so he said that I actually wasn't bipolar. I had sleep deprivation, which could cause dementia 10 to 20 years from now, where I wouldn't even remember my son's name. So all this power that I got, and I'm taking my son to the Sox game and all that, I wouldn't be able to remember his name from a misdiagnosis. And what we need is we can empower the pharmaceuticals and make more money. That's one thing. I've never stepped into a situation where I didn't make people more money. So we can empower pharmaceuticals, we can empower our industries, we can empower our factories, we can bring not only Adidas on shore, we can bring Foxconn to set up a factory in, I think, Minnesota, 53,000.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, in Wisconsin. They have 4,000 jobs, people making $53,000 a year. And one of the things we got to set is Ford to have the highest design, the dopest cars, the most amazing. I don't really say dope. I don't say negative words and try to flip them. We just say positive, lovely, divine, universal words. So the flyest, freshest, most amazing car. And what we want to start with is, I brought a gift with me right here. This right here is the iPlane 1. It's a hydrogen-powered airplane, and this is what our president should be flying in. Look at this shirt.
So get rid of Air Force One. Can we get rid of Air Force One? No, you don't like that.
Well, we're going to have Apple, an American company, work on this plane with. But you know what I don't like about, it's not that I don't like, what I need Saturday Night Live to improve on, or what I need the liberals to improve on is, if he don't look good, we don't look good. This is our president. He has to be the freshest, the flyest planes, the best factories, and we have to make our core be empowered. We have to bring jobs into America, because our best export is entertainment and ideas. But when we make everything in China and not in America, then we're cheating on our country. And we're putting people in positions to have to do illegal things to end up in the cheapest factory ever, the prison system.
I'll tell you what, that was pretty impressive, folks. You know, I hate to say this, Jim. Do you want to say something? What do you do after that?
You like me to say one
You are
word?
fed. Please, please.
If he doesn't look good, we don't look good.
Yeah. Great, right?
That's right.
Isn't that a great statement?
Yes, it is.
And it's so true.
Makes a lot of sense.
As a country. It's
Yeah, as a country.
very impressive. I've never seen Jim Brown impressed before. He was impressed. That's true. That statement is amazing, huh? I want to tell you, it's great to have you guys with us. And we're going to go in, we're going to have some lunch. That was quite something. That was quite something.
That was from the soul.
Yeah,
Can I just ask a quick question?
really
Tanya?
very interesting. Yes, yeah, please.
So you had said of President Bush that he doesn't care about black people, and you've heard some people say that about this president. How do you respond to that? What do you make of that?
I think we need to care about all people. And I believe that when I went on to NBC, I was very emotional, and I was programmed to think from a victimized mentality, a welfare mentality. I think that with blacks and African Americans, we really get caught up in the idea of racism over the idea of industry. We say if people don't have land, they settle for brands. We want Polo Sport and Obama again. We want a brand more than we want land because we haven't known how it feels to actually have our own land and have ownership of our own blocks. So when you don't have ownership, then it's all about how something looks. It's about the patina, it's not about the soil, it's not about the core. So we focus more on, is somebody wearing something, did someone disrespect me so I gotta shoot them, or the idea of someone being racist. You know, we talk about police murders, which we definitely have to discuss, and we have to bring nobility to the police officers and make them, because police officers are just like us. But this is this whole hate building, right? And that's a major thing about racial tension. And we also, as black people, we have to take a responsibility for what we're doing. We kill each other more than police officers. And that's not saying that the police officer is not an issue, because they are in a position of power. But sometimes they're in placement of law enforcement. They need to be law power. It's force versus power. When you shouldn't have to force people to do that. So a lot of times a police officer is sitting there, they're being forced to do this and forced to do that block, and then they force somebody into something and force something. We have to release the love throughout the entire country and give opportunities. A lot of times it's just the overall lack of reparations that we, at any given point, we say, oh, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist. So we don't have the reparations, but we have the 13th Amendment. We got to open up the whole conversation. So, and that's a move, one of the moves that I love that liberals tried to do. The liberal will try to control a black person through the concept of racism because they know that we are very proud, emotional people. So when I said I like Trump to like someone that's liberal, they'll say, oh, but he's racist. You think racism can control me? Oh, that don't stop me. That's an invisible wall.
But you don't think you reject those who say he's racist?
You have one question. We're going to go to another question.
Okay.
I answered your question. I don't answer questions in simple sound bites. You are tasting a fine wine. It has multiple notes to it. You better play 4D chess with me like it's Minority Report, because it ain't that simple. It's complex.
Mr. President,
I'm from the Chicago Sun-Times, so I would like to know what you would like to ask President Trump to do for Chicago. You're here to talk about crime in Chicago.
The thing that the head of the police and Mike Sachs met with me last night at the Soho House about was we feel that stop and frisk does not help the relationships in the city. And everyone that knew I was coming here said, ask about stop and frisk. That's the number one thing that we're having this conversation about. Another thing is opening up industries, and we've got to get some tax breaks because we're making we got a speed factory in Atlanta, but the shoes are costing us $300, so it's costing us too much to make things. So we need some prototypes here so we can get people back working, so China can't just beat us and Vietnam can't beat us. You got Levi's, the greatest jeans company in the world, making their jeans in Vietnam. So we're going to need to get a few breaks to be able to have some places in my hometown of Chicago and the 2.7 million to the 9 million surrounding suburbs where we can create some factories. Now, I think it would be cool for them to be Trump factories because he's a master of industry. He's a builder. And I think it would be cool to have Yeezy ideation centers, which would be a mix of education that empowers people and gives them modern information. Like sometimes people say, this kid has ADD, this kid has ADD. He don't have ADD, school is boring. It was boring, it's not as exciting as this. We have to make it more exciting, we have to mix curriculums. You play basketball while you're doing math. You learn about music while you meditate in the morning. We have to instate mental health and art programs back into the city. So those are, and also Larry Hoover is an example of a man that was turning his life around. And as soon as he tried to turn his life around, they hit him with 6 life sentences. So I believe you say don't tear down the statues. Larry Hoover is a living statue. He's a beacon for us that needs to see his family, that needs to go out and represent. When you have a block leader on every single block, they can own the block as their own. That's something I learned from Jim Brown from A Mayor I Can. We need to put curriculums from people who really came from the streets, not people who are just trying to set us up to go into a work system or prison system that applies to what people are really going through, which Jim Brown has created.
What about gun violence with all the debate about the Second Amendment going on?
The problem is illegal guns. Illegal guns is the problem, not legal guns. We have the right to bear arms.
President Trump has said that he favors stop and frisk. Are you guys going to be discussing that? Do you think he can change his mind?
Yeah, we're gonna discuss. I didn't mean to put you on blast like that, bro, but it's definitely.
Hey, I'm open-minded. I'm here.
Yeah.
Mr. President, would you like him to speak at one of your rallies?
He can speak for me anytime he wants. He's been a great guy. He's a smart cookie, smart. He gets it. These two guys, Jim Brown, he's been doing this for a long time.
Is this a future presidential candidate?
Could very well be.
Only after.
Could very well be. That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
We have a good, and the thing is, let's stop worrying about the future. All we really have is today. We just have today, over and over and over again, the eternal return, the hero's journey. And Trump is on his hero's journey right now. And he might not have expected to have a crazy mother like Kanye West run up and support. But best believe, we are going to make America great. Now, the thing is, another thing is black people have an issue with the word again. And I believe my feeling from that is because I'm going to go all the way Sigmund with it, because time is a myth. All we have is now, all we have is today. So the word again, it doesn't hurt us because of the idea of racism and slavery, the different things. It hurts us because we need to focus on who we are now, today, I believe. So I actually brought some hats in that have a bit of a transition. I'm not trying to put you up there on the spot a little bit. I made a hat that says Make America Great, just that. But I would love to see, at the Super Bowl, Trump wearing the Make America Great hat, Colin wearing the Make America Great, and showing that we can bend a bit on this side, we can bend a bit on this side, and we can learn how to be malleable in the infinite universe that we are and the loving beings that we are, that we don't have to stick to all traditions. And we aren't a side, we are one unit, we are one country, we are one moment in history and time. We might have been here before, but right now, we're here together, and the greatest value that people have are other people. And we need to stop working on red and blue. It's like a gang again.
Let me ask you this question. You're in the Oval Office. Okay. How does it feel to be in the Oval Office?
Oh, it is good energy in this.
Isn't it good energy?
It's good energy.
It's a great place. Jim, how do you feel?
I feel good. Yeah. I truly feel good. I thank you, too.
You're so respected. And what Kanye's doing has been incredible. All over the world they're talking about this. And I have to tell you, I had important meetings today with senators and with everything. Nobody cared. They wanted this meeting. This is the meeting. Is that right? I can say that to John. No, the others were good, right? But this is what they want.
Maybe only you would be here.
Well, it's my honor, Jim. I want to tell you, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. Long time. Nobody like you. Nobody like you. No athlete like you.
Well, you know why I'm here? I'm here to serve.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm here to
And
contribute.
you know, that's always been the way Jim has been for a long time. And he just wanted to help, and it's something special. Jennifer, did you have a question?
I guess, just what do you feel about stop and frisk? Are you gonna?
Well, we're gonna look at it. I'm open to everything. Hey, look, I think it's a shame what's happening in Chicago.
And what else can be done?
I'm in Chicago a lot too. I have nice things in Chicago. You know that, right? And I hate to see what's happening. They're having the numbers of people being shot and killed, and it's not for this country. So they have to do something, and I am totally open. If we can do it a different way, Kanye, I'm totally open. But they have to do, I mean, we all agree they have to do something, that's for sure.
Is it a law enforcement issue, a legislation?
Well, maybe it's a combination of both. Yeah, I guess it is, but I think it's probably a combination of both. And it's also a respect issue. They respect this guy, they respect this guy. That's a big thing. Right now, they're not respecting, let's say, your mayor or let's say your leadership in Chicago, but certainly it shouldn't be happening. What's going on there should not be happening. Steve, go ahead. Honestly, from our standpoint, this was just set up to be a lunch of two people that I like, and I guess they like me. And we're gonna have lunch, we're gonna talk.
You said, I guess you know I love you.
I know.
Did I
But I don't want to put you in that spot, but.
No, I'm standing in that spot. I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. Yeah.
Come here. That's really nice. And that's from the heart. I didn't want to put you in that position, you know, but that's from the heart. Special guy. These two are special people. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, they're special people. And I appreciate it. Jim, Kanye, I appreciate it. So let's go have some lunch. Okay? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Great, John. Huh? Thank you, fellas. Were you sitting there?
Keep going, guys. Let's go. Keep going, guys.
Thank you. Good fun. Hi.
Yeah.